Hey writing class, welcome to today's lesson. For today's class, we're going to be looking at lesson 27, parts A to D. We're not going to work on part E in today's class. We'll save that for tomorrow's class. So let's get started. I will read what it says in our book. So let's look at lesson 27, part A. The writer forgot the rule about putting commas in sentences that begin with a part that tells when. Sometimes the writer put a period instead of a comma. Sometimes the writer just left out the comma. What we have to do is fix up the passage. In the instructions, it tells us that there are 5 sentences that begin with a part that tells when. That means that we're going to need to add at least 5 commas in those sentences. So let's begin. I will read the first few sentences with you, and then I want you to read the rest and add in the missing commas. If you notice that the writer put a period where there should be a comma, make sure that the next word begins with a lowercase letter. If it begins with an uppercase letter, you'll have to change it. So let's get started. So the first sentence says, a baker had just finished baking a cherry pie. We don't have any parts that tell when in that sentence, so we're going to leave it alone. The next sentence says, a fly smelled the fresh pie and flew toward an open window in the bakery. Once again, we don't have any parts that tell when in that sentence, so we can leave it alone. The next sentence then says, while the baker put whipped cream on top of the pie. Right? While the baker put whipped cream on top of the pie is a part that tells when. So instead of having a period after the word pie, we should have a comma. The next sentence starts with a capital T, or the next word starts with a capital T. But now that we've changed it to a comma, that capital T is going to become a lowercase t. So what our new sentence should say is, while the baker put whipped cream on top of the pie, comma, lowercase t instead of an uppercase T, the fly entered the bakery through the open window. The next sentence then says, the baker saw the fly and got a fly swatter. We don't have any parts that tell when in that sentence, so we're going to leave it alone. The next sentence then says, when the fly landed near the pie. Instead of a period there, right, when the fly landed near the pie, that will be our part that tells when. So please change the period into a comma. The next word, the, starts with a capital letter. But now that we've changed the period into a comma, we're going to have to change the uppercase T into a lowercase t. So I will read what the sentence should say. When the fly landed near the pie, comma, lowercase t in the word the baker swung the fly swatter at the fly. So now I want you guys to read the rest of the passage on your own, and then anytime you see a part that tells when that has a period after it, change the period into a comma. If the next word starts with a capital letter, change that uppercase letter into a lowercase letter. So you can pause the video now, and then I will meet you guys in part B. So welcome back, guys, for part B. I will read what it says in the instructions. Each sentence starts with the exact words that somebody said, but some sentences have a question mark. So I will read sentence number 1. Where are my gloves? He asked. The exact words he said are a question. Remember the rule about punctuating this kind of sentence. Put a question mark after the exact words the person said. The question mark goes in the place of a comma and inside the quotation marks. Once more, put a question mark after the exact words the person said. The question mark goes in the place of the comma and inside of the question marks. So we're going to look at sentence number 1. I have my board right over here. Sentence number 1 tells us, where are my gloves? He asked, right? But we're missing some things in that sentence. we have our beginning quotation marks. We have, where are my gloves? Right? We know this is a question because it says at the end that he asked. So we're going to have our question mark. Right? The question mark replaces the comma, so we do not need to add our comma. Instead, I need to add my ending quotation marks right after the question mark. And then I'll write he asked. Once again, when I have a question mark, it will replace the comma. Let's look at sentence number 2. So once again, this was sentence number 1. Sentence number 2 is asking us, what is that she asked? So once again, this is a question. So I need to add my question mark. I'm going to begin with my quotation marks. What is that she asked? Right, so this is the way it's written in your book. What is that she asked? So the exact words that she asked are, what is that? So right after the word that, I'm going to need to add my question mark. In addition, right, the exact words are, what is that? So after my question mark, I need to add my quotation marks. Right? So now I have question mark, what is that? Quotation marks, what is that? Question mark, quotation marks, she asked, and then at the end, I need to make sure I have my period. So once again, guys, remember that if it is a question, you are going to write your question mark instead of your comma. Make sure that your quotation marks go around the exact words the person said, and then at the end of the sentence, remember to add in your period. So please work on parts 3, 4, 5, and 6, and add in your quotation marks, your comma if it's a statement, your question mark if it's a question, and then your period at the end. So you guys can pause the video now, and I will see you guys in part C. So welcome back, guys, to part C. I will read the instructions for this part. So for part C, in our workbook, it asks us to fix up the sentences so there are no unclear words. So sentence number 1 says, Randy went to the show with Vanessa. And then it gives us 2 options. Either Randy or he liked the rock and roll music. Right? So Randy is a boy, Vanessa is a girl. So I can use the word he. He liked the rock and roll music. I can use the word he because there is only one boy in that sentence. He is referring to Randy. Sentence number 2 says, Jerry bought an apple and an orange. And then it tells us the apple, or it, cost 75 cents. We're going to have to use the apple. If I said the word it, we wouldn't know if it was referring to the apple or the orange. So we have to make sure that we're using the word clearly. So once again, in the sentence, Jerry bought an apple and an orange, we are talking, or it names 2 different items, the apple and the orange. So that way, we cannot write it because we don't know which item it's talking about. So we have to name the item, which will be the apple. So please continue, try part part 3, 4, and 5 on your own. Make sure that you are using the words clearly. So for part 3, it tells us Amanda waved to her brother. Amanda is a girl, her brother is a boy. Right? So the next sentence, will it be Amanda or she? For part 4, it says Lisa and Susan waited for the bus. right? They're both girls. So the next sentence will either be a boy began to talk to Lisa or to her. And then for sentence number 5, it says Tom and Mike walked to school. Tom and Mike are both boys. So we have to make sure that in our next sentence, it is clear who we're talking about. So it will either be a car splashed water on Tom or him. So please make sure you circle the correct answer. You guys can pause the video now and I will meet you in part D. Welcome back, guys, to part D. This will be our final part of today's lesson. I will read what it says in our book. Find part D in your workbook. You're going to make up sentences that name 3 or 4 things. In each sentence, you'll use the word and 1 time. For sentence number 1, you'll make up a sentence that tells the 4 things that were in the back of the pickup truck. Start the sentence by naming those things. Remember to use the word and 1 time. So for this sentence, we have to name the 4 things that were in the back of the pickup truck. So if we look in the back of the pickup truck, we see that there is a bathtub, we see that there is a desk, we see that there is a chair, and we see that there is a tire. So we want to make sure that our sentence begins with those items and that we only use the word and at the very end of the list of items. So for number 1, we'll begin by naming the items. So we can say a bathtub, comma, a desk, comma, a chair. Now I'm going to use the word and because that is going to be the last item in that we are naming. So a bathtub, comma, a desk, comma, a chair, and a tire, and then I'm just going to continue the sentence that they gave us. We're in the back of the pickup. Right, so I've done exactly what I was asked. I made sure to begin the sentence with the 4 items in the back of the pickup. I have a bathtub, a desk, a chair, and a tire. Between the other words, right, I used my commas, except at the end where I name the last item, which is a tire. So once again, I have a bathtub, comma, a desk, comma, a chair, and a tire. Remember, the word and will replace the comma. We're in the back of the pickup. For part 2, it asks us to make up a sentence that tells the 3 things that waited in the line at the drive-through window, and to start your sentence by naming those things. So once again, look at the 3 things that waited in line at the drive-up window, and you're going to begin your sentence with those things. Remember to use and for the last item. And then for part 3, it asks you to make up a sentence that tells the 4 things that were on sale. If you look on the picture underneath where the menu is, it will tell you the 4 things that were on sale. And then you're going to start your sentence by naming those things. Remember once again to use a comma between the words, except the last item in which you'll use the word and. To help you, on the very bottom, you have a vocabulary list with the different items. So you have a bathtub, motorcycle, desk, tire, chair, pickup truck, and van. But you will also need to look at the picture in order to find the other items. Great work, guys, and keep it up.